be rather daunting, and they got to increase their staff as well. So, Greg, if you're in here, or Brandy. So.
And I do think we're going to have extra time today, so if the board has any questions for the constitutional officers, or if any of the officers would like to speak about their requests, you can feel free to do so now. Nope. No takers, yeah.
Greg wants to talk.
What? Somebody write that down. You don't want to talk? Oh, okay. Okay.
Joe, you don't want to talk?
I'm good, brother. I'm good.
Good gracious. Something wrong.
Should talk, he's got a decrease. Come tell us about it.
Joe
Yeah.
should be talking.
So we talked about 2 new positions within the BOCC for new programs. Again, we're not recommended a big increase in operational staff this year, but we are looking at, we felt these were important because they're really geared towards standing up new programs. In the fire rescue, we have an EMS administrative position budgeted for. And that position is specifically going to be tasked with starting to build a community paramedicine program. I'm sure since the last workshop, y'all had some time to look into that a little bit. But our expectation is that this program will allow EMS operations to provide better emergency medical care in a much more efficient way. And this may allow us to delay the addition of a Rescue 5 ambulance unit in the following years. Go ahead. Yeah. We also have a new position in the radio and IT department. With the construction and implementation of the new system, many new opportunities have appeared to leverage the new technology. So Joe, in addition to the radio system implementation, it's bled over into IT so much that Joe's now been tasked with managing our IT and our IT contractor. And he's also helping in the area of facilities stand up some new infrastructure maintenance protocols. So we are looking to hire a technician to help Joe with some of the day-to-day. One other opportunity we'll mention here is Joe has been familiar and he's looking into co-location opportunities, and that's where we can allow other service providers to lease space on our new radio towers. Now, according to our agreement with Triumph Gulf, any revenue we generate from those opportunities would have to go towards economic development. But it's still revenue, so it's a good thing.
That's a good thing, and we could use that in the economic development side. One of the things, as you know, we in the past has not maintained our radio system as the way it was, and that was part of the deal with Triumph Gulf and getting this funding to properly maintain it. Initially, this is the first year of the true startup of this department, which is going to be for the next 3 years will be at or near this level, maybe some, but in the 4th year out, all of our warranty and all of our maintenance contracts that are currently going to be covered by Motorola time out. So there will be a $300,000 to $400,000 hit coming out in year 4. So we have to get ready for that. We can't ignore that, and that's part of one of the things that we've talked to that we were doing. We did a 5-year plan. We're going to scrunch that down to a 3-year with that out there because we got to keep that in the back of our mind. We've got that coming, and more than likely by the time it gets here, at the rate of things are going up, it could potentially be a little bit higher than that. So, but we do know that's the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's a train. So. That's the reason to start this up, get it smoothed out, so that whenever that hits, we can try to minimize that as best we can.
Triumph will not let us use that rental money to go back toward the system?
No, it has to go towards economic development due to Triumph as you know, their funding is for economic development. So any revenue that's gotten that's obtained by a facility that's purchased by Gulf Triumph has to go either back to Gulf Triumph or go back into the county for economic development.
And Joe's new position does not count towards that either.
No,
Right.
this
Not people.
that's right. So, anyway, it's going to work out. It's just the biggest thing is we have to know, we need to know, and we need to see that coming down the road. So just understand that's a probably a $400,000 hit that's coming, that we're going to have to, and also that also bleeds over into fire rescue. If this paramedicine program works, one of the things I wanted to try to do was, we could keep filling positions. That's easy. But how can we think outside of the box? How can we do business differently? And that's what this is. And Louis, they came up with this program, and if this works, there's actually a revenue component to that, so that hopefully, as we run this program, I don't think it'll ever get revenue neutral, but it's going to come pretty darn close. And our insurance providers tend to like this program. It's something that's happening nationwide. Our citizens will benefit tremendously from it. It's thinking outside our box, and if we can keep away from having to add another shift, which is 9 people, 9 folks, if this works by adding 1 person, we've done a good day for our citizens, because you just can't. It's like the insurance program. You can't just keep hiring people. That does not. Everybody has to think outside of the box, and just hiring is easy. Let's look outside of the box and see.
Walton County has this program, and it's working good.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. We got to look at that all across the board. How can we rethink the way we do business? So we're trying this, saying hopefully, if it works as well as it's advertised, as Louis has promised, we'll be all right.
I'll put my fire rescue hat back on just for a minute and say, in addition to saving the county and the department money long-term, hopefully delaying some new hiring, this has the potential to help citizens right now. So the way we operate is if we need to do any kind of medical intervention, you're going to the hospital, you're going to the emergency room. What this program, and the reason that the administrative position would be important, we have to look at our medical protocols, look at how we treat patients, but it's just acknowledging that there is a middle ground there, that there are some conditions that we can treat for, stabilize you, and safely leave you in place. And so instead of having a $1,000 ambulance transport and whatever your emergency room cost is, maybe you have a $400 cost for us to come and treat you in place, avert whatever the immediate crisis is, direct you to some long-term help, and so immediately saving citizens money on transport costs and hospital costs. We were done, Jess. There we go. Golf course. So the preliminary budget, operating budget for the golf course is $1.918 million. The redesign and the construction of the course and the facilities is almost complete, and we're all obviously very anxious to open. Our pro-shop manager started last week, and so right now we're working on fee schedules. We need to bring a rate resolution to the board, which we're planning on bringing in August. To establish the rates. The goal for the golf course has always been for it to be self-supporting, and so we're looking to begin generating revenue immediately. Revenue is going to come in through memberships, greens fees, and retail sales for the most part, and we will continue to receive a modest revenue offset from the sewer fund for the golf course's part in assisting with the groundwater recharge.
The key thing here is you'll be getting this at the next meeting, but the idea here is that just like other funds, this golf course has to operate has to make a profit. Just like our other funds, it's unfair to the citizens to have to foot something that those that don't play golf, they shouldn't have to foot the bill for this. So we have to run it as a business, and that means we got to run it as a business, which we have to run it as a business. And that means we have to be hardcore, and there's no gimmies that'll be in this. If we can make money, if we do that, we stay disciplined, which we will. But the golf course will be ready for a August 16 for a soft opening. We will be figuring that out and announcing some stuff there, but it'll be a tournament type thing. But anyway, everything's processing along good, but everything here is set up for success. We build it for success. We put the infrastructure in from so that it can succeed. So therefore, you've invested about $10 million of citizens' money, one way or the other, in this thing, or $9 million, excuse me. Therefore, we got to get a return, and the idea here is to be able to not only pay for get the budget back this year, but also every year be able to put money forward, because the equipment that we just purchased at $900,000, 5 years, it's got to come back again.
So is this the startup, like is this your startup budget, or is this your?
It is a startup budget, so understand, as I said before, we got to make money. So we'll be fair, but at the end of the day, it's got to make money to survive. So that means we have to be disciplined at what we're doing.
So the proposal is to have annual memberships as well as one.
We'll have annual memberships as well as rack rates for those out of state, out of town. We'll have a local rate for Wakulla County citizens. We'll have a markup on our club pro shop things, as well as our food and beverage, which is primarily we'll have beer and wine sales and crackers, prepackaged sandwiches and stuff like that. And then we'll have we'll have a as part of the competition, we'll have places to where if tournaments come in, they can either get the same yard to host it, or the food and beverage side of it, or we'll have a place for our food trucks to pull up, and also during the day they can pull up there, and that way we make a pop off of it as well. The idea is we make money off of it as well, because everything that happens there, we need to make money off of it, everything. In order to make it, we have to do that.
At this time, there's no plans for a special rate for county employees. Nonprofit funding requests. So here we're reusing another slide from the previous workshop. At that time, we had received 3 requests from our nonprofit agencies. These are agencies that we have funded in the past. I will mention here, these requests are not yet included in the preliminary budget that was presented to you. We need board direction to include nonprofit funding requests, and so you can give that direction today if you'd like, but I will put it in for the next workshop for the tentative budget.
But also remember that any of these, as I told you, in our pre-meetings, you can put it in, and then you still have time to either take out, adjust however you need to. You got until the budget is finalized.
Kelly, I'm not putting you on the spot. How long do you think the regular presentation is going to last? I was just trying to decide if we want to hear from the people that are here now or at the end.
I have built time in to hear from them now if we like.
Quickly after this.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that what you'd like to happen now?
Yes, please. A couple of things to mention before we invite them up. Last workshop, the board mentioned we'd really like to see a request from Red Cross. We reached out to them after that workshop, and they told us on the phone that they did want to submit a request, but as of today, we have not seen their application. We've not received their request.
Okay.
So I can certainly try to reach out to them again if you like, or we can wait to see what happens.
Kelly, would you please reach out to them?
Absolutely.
It was only 5,000.
Yeah, it's,
Mm-hmm.
but they do quite a bit, especially in emergencies.
Yeah, we both, Kelly and I talked to Sharon, and she said she was going to come in, but she's got
A lot going on.
Yeah. We did have another late request. We received a late application from North Florida Medical Center. They operate the Panacea Clinic, In fiscal year 22-23, we funded them with $10,000. They use that money to participate in a intergovernmental transfer, and that's a function where we sent money to the state, to AHCA, the Agency for Healthcare Administration. They matched that money with federal dollars that they have access to. That program is called a low-income pool. They matched that with some additional money and sent it back to North Florida Medical Centers. North Florida emailed a statement showing that the money that came back to the Panacea Clinic was $30,368 from the low-income pool program. So they were able to grow our $10,000 investment and bring back $30,000 to the county. They emailed us July 9th about funding for fiscal year 24-25. They did send their application, and it appears to me to be complete. And I've invited them to here today as well to speak if you'd like to hear from them.
And the number was over 1,400 people they served, right?
They indicated in their application, over 1,400 patients in
That was
the Panacea Clinic.
our residents, Wakulla County residents.
I'm not sure if it said that
What-
specifically, but in the
anybody?
Panacea Clinic, I'm not sure if they exclude.
Well, that's why I said Wakulla County residents.
So if we'd like to start with Keep Wakulla County Beautiful?
Hello, I'm Tammy Nason, the director for Keep Wakulla County Beautiful. I have given you all a letter regarding our programs and everything, which I think most of you know anyway. But also, I prepared for today our numbers for this past fiscal year. So for our fiscal year that ours ends on June 30th, we had 1,864 volunteers, and that totaled up to 4,207 volunteer hours. With our cleanups, we had 45,917 pounds of litter we collected. Using the FDOT formula for cost benefit, with all the volunteer hours, it comes to 122,003. We have been planting, we've planted the sea oats at Massive Sands this year. That was a new thing. We are planting trees in the park. We've got 8 of them at Azalea Park now, so we hope to be able to get some more in there. We're using that as a fundraiser to try and offset some costs and work towards being a little more self-sustaining. So we're encouraging people to sponsor a tree, and that also aims to help with any homeless or food shortages for Wakulla residents. So, and is there any questions for me?
Y'all do an amazing job. I've been with y'all several times and appreciate the amount of people showed up. I think last time when we did the forest, there was over 100 people showed up, and I remember all the stuff we got. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming out and helping.
Commissioners, understand this funding comes from our solid waste fund,
Right.
not from our ad valorem, so not from the general fund.
It needs another separation, double counting.
Yeah, I want to do my check, but it'll be $80,000, but the way we do math, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I still want to do my checkbook.
I want to, exactly.
Everybody does.
Your first awards banquet was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
That was-
I'm glad you could make it.
Well, it was one of the food was really bad, but the banquet was absolutely wonderful, so.
Well,
Somebody said when you became a commissioner, you'd never eat at Posey's again, and guess what? They were wrong. Yeah, but it was amazing, and it was a good turnout.
it was. I think we'll have to move it maybe to the community center or something next year. 'Cause, yeah, it was there was quite a few people there.
Yeah, they were. It was great.
Amazing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Miss Laura Edwards, Wakulla County Senior Center.
Hey, y'all, Laura Edwards, Executive Director of Wakulla County Senior Center. And, yeah, but you know what? I'm proud. Because the Senior Center has been around for so long, and y'all have continued to support us, and all we do is grow and grow and grow. And as y'all know, with grant funding, we run a fine line. Grant funding and fundraising, that's how we live. We support 37 full-time employees, and last year we fed 11,224 meals to our seniors in Wakulla County. We transported over 14,000 rides, 60% of that being ambulatory. We're meeting their transportation disadvantage, or they're in a wheelchair, or they have a walker, to and from doctor's appointments. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you so much for your continued support. County funding is vital for our operations, as our senior center is absolutely vital for our senior citizens. Our programs just this year have increased 30%. We're seeing the influx in people moving to Wakulla County. We're seeing a different demographic that we're planning for going forward. And we're going to do some program changes to enhance that demographic. We're getting folks moving up here from, Port Richey and South Florida, or they're coming down from Wisconsin. They're like, "Oh, do you have a pickleball court in here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, but it's on my list of things to do." But you can go to the community center. So, art classes and pottery. So we are looking at programmatic changes in the future for that different demographic that is coming to Wakulla County. Like I said, programs have increased 30%. And just to remind everybody that's not familiar, we have several different programs. We do senior meals, programs, activities. We do Meals on Wheels. We do in-home health, sending in-home health aides to folks' home, which is difficult in a rural community. Transportation, of course. And before school, after school. You might not know, but we have before school, after school in the four elementary schools in Wakulla County. And last year, we were up to 387 kids. And this year, it's going to be even bigger. So without taking up too much time, it's not just a senior center. It's a community. And it is so much needed, and it so much needs your continued support.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Sorry, I get all wound up.
Just thank you for supporting our events.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
We care.
Hello, I'm Diana Bixler, Program Coordinator with We Care Network. Good to see y'all and good to meet you, Kelly. We have Tom Block here, our Executive Director, and Miriam Joseph is our Wakulla County Case Manager. So they're here today to support our mission. So we have been around since 1992, and I wanted to give you some updates since we did our application. In June, at the end of June, our foundation board voted to increase our financial eligibility threshold. So from 1992 to last month, we were serving patients at 150% or below the federal poverty level, and now we've increased that to 200% or below the federal poverty level. So part of this comes with the Florida legislation to increase access to free and charitable clinics up to potentially 300%, and that's at the clinic's discretion. So we're going to take the next year or so and see what that looks like for us, what the impact is of going up to 200%. But we're really excited about this, and we're hopeful to be able to serve more patients and more residents in Wakulla. So we serve 4 counties. If you're not familiar with the program, Wakulla, Leon, Gadsden, and Jefferson. And so in Wakulla, we received $12,000 the last few years, and that's our request this year. And the value of service, the donated care, so it's a volunteer healthcare provider program. The value of service for fiscal year 23-24 was $300,000 for Wakulla, $300,000 back into Wakulla County in health services, donated to the residents of just specifically Wakulla County. The program as a whole is about $5.3 million for fiscal year 23-24. So Wakulla County is about 9 to 10% usually of the patient population that we serve every year, which are adults. They have to be 18 or over, uninsured, ineligible for Medicaid, Medicare, any other program that can assist them. So we're kind of a safety net for those that fall through the cracks. and help avoid unnecessary emergency room visits. As you were speaking on earlier with the paramedicine program, an emergency room cost is around $2,500 to $3,000 per person, and so putting in the $12,000 is really going to be seen in about 4 patients. So we're very thankful for that. We received 200 referrals for Wakulla County residents in the last fiscal year, and we're able to put back $300,000 into the community. So, yeah. Any questions for us?
Yes, sir.
So do you try to qualify them for Medicare or Medicaid? How do you know if they're not eligible?
So the primary cares that we work with will kind of pre-screen them. And so we work with North Florida Medical Centers in Wakulla, which is Wakulla Medical Center, Wakulla County Health Department, Wakulla Urgent Primary Care, and then TMH Physician Partners Wakulla. And so they'll see them, and the primary care will pre-screen and see, do they have insurance? Are they eligible for Medicaid based on their qualifying conditions? And then refer. And then we will do a financial eligibility screening. And so we'll double check and look through, make sure that they're not eligible, and then make sure that they fall below the federal poverty guidelines. If they are eligible for something else, or potentially, we will advise them to apply for that first, and then come back with either a denial or an approval. They will move forward with that other
Have
service.
some kind of copay for them, or if they're not eligible for any of that, then your services are free to them?
They're completely free to the patient. So our program, our providers give volunteer health care. We provide, out of the patient assistance fund, we pay for medications and transportation. And so that's really important because the rural county patients are all coming into Tallahassee for specialized care to see those specialty physicians there. So we'll provide gas cards for rural county residents to come in, and then any of the specialized medications. Locally, we work with Crawfordville Pharmacy, and then, or if they're already in Tallahassee, they can go to CareRx Pharmacy or Costco. But all of the care, even hospitalization, surgeries, all of that is donated by either the physician or the hospital, which is TMH or HCA in Tallahassee. So, yeah.
Big return.
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
Huge.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you all for supporting us and for having us.
Thank you.
For inviting us.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Lane.
Hello again. I want to thank you so much for helping us in 22-23. And like in my application, I showed that we've increased more patients in Panama City, Panacea. We had your funding last year, but because of the ACA deadline, it just didn't work out. So I'm here again asking for the same $2,000 that you guys gave us 2 years ago. And that money I expect returned to us in the same amount of the $30,000. It just depends on how ACA gets the money. They send it up to the feds, and what the feds does, and they send it back, and then we distribute it, amongst all of our centers. So I'm asking for the $10,000 again. And in my application, I did say I'm planning on adding a physician to the Panacea location. And I know that will really help this area because she's going to be an excellent physician and she'll help you in addition to the nurse practitioner I already have.
Sparrow. Anybody have any questions for Lane?
I don't. They do a good job.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any discussion? We're going to just kind of move this around. Everybody's okay to move on? You want to talk about anything? Okay.
I say we had all 5 of these.
And just be,
Yeah, I agree.
exactly.
Let's just-
I agree.
Yeah.
And Miss Kelly, don't forget about Red Cross.
Yes, absolutely. We'll reach out to them.
Thank you.
You want us to go ahead and add in a contingency for it?
Please.
Everybody agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Moving right along.
All right, we'll pick back up with general fund revenue. So the total budgeted general fund revenue is $48,592,313. The general fund, as a reminder, is our largest pool of unrestricted revenue. It can be used for any public purpose. This revenue comes from a myriad of sources. The biggest source is, of course, our ad valorem property tax. Lots of intergovernmental revenues. We have state and federal revenue sharing, revenue in lieu of tax for our national forest lands, and fiscally constrained county funding. We have some other taxes, including the public service tax, the PST, communications tax, and some local option sales taxes. We have some transfers into the general fund from our special revenue funds, and those are in return for services provided by the BOCC to the special revenue funds and the employees within those departments, and various other collections, some fees for services and licensing fees.
Ad valorem tax that's represented here does not, it's based on 7.9 millage rate. So there's no technically not an increase in the millage rate. Did I say that correct, Brandy? In the millage
Not
rate?
really, but we got it.
Not in taxes, but in millage rate.
Above the rollback, but it's not a.
Exactly. Not a
There you go.
So here's our next slide, all about the ad valorem tax.
Way to go.
Yeah.
I
So,
do it
yes, the ad valorem property tax is our largest single source of revenue in the general fund. On July 1, the property appraiser certified the taxable values for fiscal year 24-25. Our estimated taxable value is approximately $2.28 billion, which is an increase of 11.76% over last year's corrected valuation. At our current rate of 7.9000 mils, the anticipated ad valorem revenue will be just over $17 million. Our other taxes and state revenues that we mentioned, they continue to be very strong, and we'll remember from this fiscal year, some of those increases are really helped us a lot. This preliminary budget shows some pretty substantial percentage increases. As you go through, you'll notice in some of these lines, double-digit percentage increases. But do keep in mind that those percentages are budget over budget. And remember, we didn't anticipate these to come in as strong this year. So when we compare the budget over our actual projections that we're expected to realize this year, these increased percentages are really pretty modest.
PSC calculated, we calculate based on our existing run rate for this year, this fiscal year, and then we projected for the remainder of the year based upon the percentage increase last year from April to September. Yeah, May to September.
Winter run rate and
Right,
summer.
yeah, winter run rate in the summer. So this number is fairly accurate at 3%.
That's pretty accurate last year.
Yeah. We did a pretty good job.
With our fees and assessments, as we talked about, the preliminary rate resolutions are coming before the board tonight for our fire and solid waste assessments. And as we said, we're not recommending an increase to those rates at this time. The fire assessment will remain at $248, and the solid waste fee will remain at $204. That's per household. Those are the residential rates. While we're not expecting or recommending an increase in the rates themselves, we are expecting some revenue increases from growth. And that's when you buy a new house or when you build a new house, you pay that fee. And so these increases are calculated based on our current pace of about 500 new homes a year. We also talked at the last workshop about the sewer rates, and there is a 2.5% CPI that will come into effect next April. This will happen automatically. It's already been approved by resolution in December 2021. This escalation was part of the Reftelis rate study and the sewer improvement plan.
Is the CST identified in here?
We didn't list it, but it would be in the state, in the other taxes, state revenues, it would be in there, we just didn't list it. But that is believe it or not, that's one of those that has turned itself around. Remember, it was trending downward. Over the past 2 years, this actually began to trend, and we don't know, we haven't dove in high enough, but it's significant this year over what it has been, which is good. We don't know whether there was a change in the way the cell phones you buy at Walmart are taxed or not by the state, but we haven't looked at it yet that close to see. All I know is it's increased in funding, so I'm not arguing.
Streaming services. So as we've talked about at previous workshops, the general fund is the umbrella fund. It covers all the other county funds. So as we go forward, we're going to talk about some of the special revenue funds and enterprise funds, but this demonstrates why it's really important to keep a close eye on those. They have to remain self-supporting, otherwise the general fund has to come in and shore them up. We don't want to have to cannibalize our general fund to run our other funds.
This is what we're going to call the brandy umbrella.
Well, she always has her ducks in a row.
Her idea.
This was the one she insisted it saying.
I can take it out. She said, nobody's got to stay.
So our largest special revenue fund is the sheriff's fund. The budget in the sheriff's fund this year is $18 million, which is a little over $18 million, which is 8.97% of the net total county budget. You'll notice that the overall budget in the sheriff's fund is only up 2.5%. This is over the July 1 revised final budget, but the transfer from the general fund is up 10.78% last year. In the past, we have offset the necessary transfer to the sheriff's fund by bringing cash forward within that fund. But this year, we're projecting an ending fund balance of just $3.07 million. With this new 2.5% budget increase, the new fund balance target from 24-25 forward will be a minimum of $4.46 million. So this fund can't afford to spend down any more cash. And we'll have to watch it pretty closely in the coming budget cycles. We already have board direction to provide some relief to the sheriff's fund by reversing the $306,000 cash transfer for the construction of the maintenance garage. The board's direction was to make that transfer or reverse that transfer at the end of the fiscal year. So, but it is included in this projection for ending fund balance. Another big special revenue fund is the MSBU. The 24-25 budget is up 3.29% over the current year. Most of that is in the contractual COLAs and steps for the firefighter pay plan. When we increased this rate last year, we recommended and planned for a 3% annual CPI for this rate. But here again, because we delayed implementing our 23-24 budget priorities, we saved quite a bit of money in that fund this year. And again, we are still expecting to see some revenue growth with the new construction and with the building of new homes. So we are projecting a year-end fund balance in this fund of $1.14 million. But the new 24-25 minimum fund balance target is approximately $958,000. So here again, we'll need to keep an eye on it. The fund is getting stronger. To put it in perspective, the MSBU began fiscal year 23-24 with a fund balance of just $618,000. So that's moving in the right direction. As always, the road department operating revenue remains very flat. We don't see that move a lot year over year, but the department continues to live well within its means. We're projecting a healthy year-end fund balance of about $944,000, which is well above their median target of $766,000. Operating costs in the sewer fund are budgeted to increase by 7.5% this year. Part of that increase is due to a 3% CPI on our contract with ESG. We do expect to see strong revenue growth from new users, particularly those on the Sop Choppy water system, as well as the rate increase that we talked about coming into effect in April. And the last one is our solid waste enterprise fund. Waste Pro is also scheduled to receive a 3% CPI on their contract, which will push the total increase in the solid waste budget to 3.2%. Here again, we're not recommending the board increase the solid waste assessment, but rather we'll look for growth in revenue from new customers buying and building homes. So that brings us back to the general fund and the fund balance. As we heard at the last workshop, the projected year-end general fund balance is just over $6.5 million. That is about 43% of current year's operating expenses. It's very healthy. Of that fund balance, we've budgeted to bring just under $2 million cash forward. $1.5 million will go to reserve, and the remaining $433,000 is budgeted expense. One thing to note here is that we did not include the nonprofit funding in here, so that cash that we'll be spending is going to increase a little bit. Our new 24-25 fund balance target is between $3.85 and $5.08 million. If every dollar of our budgeted cash forward is spent and all revenues come in exactly as we've budgeted, that would leave us with a net position of about $6.08 million fund balance.
As you can see, we're healthy, and you guys have got us there, and have got us there. It was one thing getting here, it's another thing staying. We got to continue to watch what we spend. We've got to, now that as I've told you guys in the past, over the past 5 years, we've added employees, we've corrected the pay, we're back up to the minimum wage. Our new minimum wage, we've got that. I think we have a handful of people, Debbie, if I'm not mistaken, that's under 15. That's just barely under 15. That'll be next year. And we got a good, healthy reserve. We have a good infrastructure program going. I want to be able to, in the future, if we continue to grow, let's hold our millage rate where it is. Let's potentially lower it, but we can't do it. We got to look at our CHP moving forward. We got to look at our personnel. We got to slow down hiring everywhere we can in order to be able to do it, because what we don't want to do is over-rev the engine with everything going on nationally, as well as waiting for if we have a downturn, we don't want to be in a position, we want to be in a strong position for a downturn versus a weak position where people lose their jobs, etc. And it's not good for our citizens us to be in a weak position right now. We're in a strong position, but we have to stay that way from here on. We've been disciplined. We got to be very disciplined from here on. Also, just before you do that, I'm going to touch on 1 cent sales tax. I'm just throwing a curveball at Kelly, and Brandy will tell you I do that regularly. 1 cent sales tax, and then we'll talk about this. As you know, in the past 4 or 5 years, we've done some projects, but we've held back quite a bit of money because we walk in today, we have $9.1 million in committed contracts, committed work. We have a total overall revenue of $8.5 million, including the cash that we brought forward. So next year, some of that money won't hit until next year, about $2 to $3 million of that, so we're okay. But what it does mean is next year we'll be very, 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 very skinny on any type of 1 cent sales tax work that'll be done. In fact, probably other than in the road fund, you're probably looking at maybe $200,000 spread between all the rest of it. Save the road fund and save the public safety fund. The public facilities and rec fund, it's going to have to recover next year. So, but that's just.
I think everybody wants 1 cent sales tax covers. I know people think it's just road.
Yeah, 1 cent sales tax covers, is for capital purposes and capital purposes only. It can't be used for revenue, for paying wages, et cetera. And it is all for any type of capital improvement that we need within the county. As it pertains, there's four different funds within the 1 cent. One is the public facility fund, which is kind of, as Greg says, it's kind of a catch-all for just about a little bit of everything, but that takes care of major maintenance and on our facilities, major construction on facilities, public safety, so some public safety facilities, car, vehicles, et cetera, for the county, like the loan for the fire station comes out of that. Parks and recreation, that takes care of infrastructure at Meadowlark Park as well as all of our parks within the county. Major infrastructure as well as capital and their vehicle and maintenance equipment, both for taking care of the parks and the rec park. Road paving fund is resurfacing, striping roads, new paving of dirt roads, which we're doing after our sewer installation, which is the bulk of where the funding is going. Dirt road paving just in general in the county, and then bridge repair, and then we have special projects, i.e. the roundabout that we just finished at Songbird and Wakulla Aaron. Then in public safety fund, that's where all the sheriff's vehicles that you see are running around the county. That's where they're purchased out of. EMS fire ambulances are purchased out of here. We used to purchase the fire out, but now that has its own capital fund. So it's just anything that comes out of this is sheriff and sheriff's vehicles, EMS ambulances, and then any animal control vehicles that we have. So that comprises it, and each year, that's about this year we're projected to have $4.2 million in revenue, and we're online for that now. We're at about 52% of revenue, about where we should be. And that you pay that 1 cent when you buy groceries or you buy different things around the county. And it's the good thing about this is it's not just people in Wakulla County. This is people that visit Wakulla County and spend dollars here. And also, as I remind everyone, every time you go to Tallahassee and you spend $1 in Tallahassee, you're giving them a penny to go towards their 1 cent sales tax. So spend your money in Wakulla. Isn't that right, Kevin?
So yes, as David said, there is a strong management component here, keeping our general fund healthy. I'm learning from my mentor. We always try to budget revenues pretty conservatively and expenses fairly liberally. That is, we usually collect a little more than we budget for and spend a little less than we budget for. And that is, that's a management responsibility to watch how we spend that. The county administrator will be working very closely with department directors. Some of the new positions that we've budgeted for will make good judgments about when to bring those positions on and not carry those recurring expenses any longer than we have to. So just because we budget it doesn't mean we have to spend it. The budget gives us capacity if we have to spend, but we don't have to spend it.
Every year. So, questions?
I really want to concentrate on the CHP for one. I'd like to know the final numbers on that, how that works anywhere from the 6.1% to the 8% that CHP was talking about. So when you get those numbers, I know every year that we have not passed on to employees, I still like to keep it that way if possible. We give them a 3% raise and then CHP eats it up and then some. So that's definitely want some numbers on that. And also, I really want to look at where are we at on the animal shelter. I know we were talking about doing some renovations. Is that still in our budget?
That's the renovation. That'll be from next year, this coming up fiscal year. Yeah.
We still got that plan.
I have that. That's a little bit of the 200,000 that's carved out.
All right.
And the CHP, I've got the numbers I can share with y'all anytime, and that is a factor that we talked about, but realize a 3% it's not a percentage increase.
No, I get it.
And, even if we passed on, say for instance, we kept the plan the way it was and I ran the scenario of if we had an 8.4 increase and we passed a 2.3%, this passed a 6% to the employees, it would increase the employee plan by $19 a month and increase the family plan by $60 a month. So that's still at that, you're talking about an employee, a single employee with the county can go to work for us right now at and pay $4.62 a month for CHP insurance full coverage, and then family is $304 a month is their share of that. And if we did this, that would increase if we went to 2.3. And just scenario, I just ran it just to say what would it be, because everybody talks about it. That would increase. The single would go to $23.81 and the family would go to $364, which is very, very cheap insurance.
And just so the citizens know, David, that the whole idea behind this is to deter people from going to the emergency room, but also the community paramedic can also, in the long run, help with that as well.
It will help with that as well, and those are programs that will actually help this, as well as in talking to Tallahassee, I was telling you with TOC, getting them down here, they're going to be coming soon. So their TOC Now program will help this dramatically. So between all these programs, yes, it will make a difference, and we have to watch our loss ratio, and we've done a really good job. When I first came here, we were, what was the increases, Debbie? 11, 12, 13% on up there, but we've made adjustments in the plan to do that. But, and I get to that point, but it comes a point to where citizens, we can only pay so much. But this is also a very, very good recruitment and retention tool in today's economy for our citizens, for our county employees, and it is huge. We have currently 100 out of our employees. We have 164 that participate in our program within the BOCC.
I want to say thank y'all for the budget every year. I know we've come a long ways. I know the first year when I got elected, we were some really tough decisions by losing ICE, and y'all really prepared for that before I even got elected, and it was a hard decision to lose all that money. However, we've come a long ways, and I appreciate all the hard work by obviously our constitutional officers and everybody really buckling down this past year and made a difference to put us where we're in good shape.
We definitely ran through a hard year, no doubt about it.
Well, Brandy and Kelly, thank you. You're training her up right, Miss Brandy. Thank you.
Anything from you?
I'd just like to point out that if we look at the adjusted budget with the 10% taken out for the double count, we're looking at a $201 million budget for the overall county to run everything the county does. And property taxes for all of us, for residential, commercial, businesses, is about $17 million. So we're paying in $17 million to operate a $200 million budget. So the rest comes from state revenue sharing, grants, a big chunk of grant money in there. And so, I always like to make sure the public knows that county staff gives us a tremendous return on that money. None of us like paying property taxes, me included. But if you look at what we're getting for the amount that we're paying, it's over 10 to 1 off of your property taxes. Thank you.
We're actually, I think, 58 out of 67 counties lowest taxes.
Yeah.
So we're still right there.
And David just pointed out that our health insurance alone takes up 3
mils.
We're at 7.9 mils, so a third of the money that we pull in property taxes goes directly to health insurance for our county
CHP.
staff.
Yep.
Any constitutionals want to say anything? Anybody from the audience want to say anything?
I think Jan raised her hand. She wanted to come up.
I don't know what to think. You got Greg James and Joe Morgan, and John Shuff didn't want to say anything.
I mean, something's going on.
And Andy Riddle, excuse me.
Brandon, you want to talk about anything in your department? Okay. Everything's good over there? All right. Anything else from you, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to go over the next steps in the process. So we talked about tonight, the board will vote to adopt the preliminary rate resolutions for the fire solid waste assessments. You will also vote tonight to schedule the first and second public hearings to actually adopt the budget. This Thursday, once we get your vote tonight, we will publicly notice those hearing dates and the proposed millage to the property appraiser. And on August 13th, the appraiser will mail those trim notices out. The final workshop is August 19th, and that's where we'll discuss any changes, one of which will be the addition of the nonprofit funding requests and any others that come up. And so then that'll put us in September, where we'll vote to adopt the proposed millage, the tentative budget, and the final resolutions for the fire and solid waste assessments.
The nonprofit money is coming out of the 400,000 leftover money in Quincy Spring,
It's adding to the $400,000
so that's the way it's
extra
Minus,
cash money.
minus the 40,000 for Keep Wakulla County Beautiful. So that comes out of a different fund. That's not part of that.
So we're 360,000-ish.
No, we're.
I was seeing if David,
Way.
I was seeing if David was listening. Thank you.
545,000.
We'll slow it.
Okay. Need a motion? We're adjourned.
Motion.
We don't really need one, or do you want one, Heather? We don't need one. Okay. Thank you very much.
Get some more.
Exactly.
Randy, good job.